And welcome back again, yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander of Keeping It Honest. We don't just keep it simple, we don't just keep it real, we keep it honest. We thank you. Late breaking news, fast breaking news. We have coming up in a couple minutes. President Joe Biden will be addressing, I guess, the whole world, talking about why he decided to drop out of the race for president. He doesn't want to do a second term. A lot of people are confused about that. A lot of people were surprised that he was going to drop out, but he decided to drop out. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the letter that he sent. He did it over X or Twitter, which was interesting. And you wonder, well, if he's going to drop out, why would he do that over X? Why wouldn't he sit down and talk to the American public so we could see what he looks like? A lot of people wondering even if Joe Biden was alive or dead because we didn't hear him, didn't see him. We just saw a tweet. So I guess that shows you how much I guess X really is popular. So if you watched the show before, hit the like, share button, subscribe, tell your friends, keeping it honest. We give the right side, we give the left side, and at the end, we hope you decide. You may not like what we give you, but at the end of the day, we hope you're satisfied. We've enjoyed your support. We've enjoyed your threads, your tweets, your conspiracy theories. This has been an interesting time for the country. You've got a former president that was had assassination attempt, and not too long after that, you had a president that said, "I'm dropping out." So why did he decide to drop out? A couple minutes, he's going to sit down and address the American public. But before that, we've got some housekeeping to do. You want to get in contact with me about any shows? We do things in a Parker twist. You can leave me a voice message. You can text me. Telephone number is 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. And you can email me. It's parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. Don't forget to support our Patreon page. And on that page, what it is, and Cash App, is kind of like, I call it PBS. You go to the page, and we have three different tiers. And on those tiers, we have contributions. You can contribute this much money, this much money, this much money. Kind of like fundraising. You see, we do a lot of work on the show. We appreciate it. And we appreciate your support, your monetary support. And thank you for continuing to grow with us. We are all a family. And again, don't forget to hit a like, share button, tell your friends. You got any questions? You want something done different? Something that nobody's talking about? Well, you've come to the right place. President Biden will be on soon, straight from the White House. They're getting them ready right there. And I want to know, when you do see him talk, is he going to talk the old Joe? Is he going to talk the new Joe? Is he going to talk the person that, well, you figure, could he, if he won, still be around for 4 more years? Or could it have been where, you're in, you beat Trump, you do it year by year. If you make it the first 2 years, that's okay. Then you pass on to Kamala Harris, and then she becomes the president of the United States. Some people are saying that she should be the president of the United States now. So coming up, Biden's going to talk about that. So speaking of talking about, I'm going to read you the letter that he put on X. Instead of giving it to people, he put it on X. It goes like this. My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation and lowering prescription drug costs for seniors and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances. We passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most important climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once in a century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek reelection, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remaining of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America. So that's the letter that he gave to X. Didn't do a prime time special, didn't do even an audio version where we heard his voice. Supposedly he put together this letter. Some people were worried about, again, if he was still alive because the letter was out there, but we didn't get to see him. And it's been days since we've seen or heard from him. So on here too, the question was, he didn't say why he was leaving. He just said it was in the best interest. Now, why would he say that it was in the best interest? He says he had planned on still staying for the re-election process, but he believes it's in the best interest for him to work on being the president. So some people are saying if you're dropping out and you don't want to run for next year, when you kept saying you were going to run, nothing's going to stop you but God, did God finally say it's time to step down? Are you doing it because you're sick? What exactly are you doing it? And if you're doing it because you're sick with about 5 months left, are you still able to continue? And in about 10 minutes, we're going to hear from him. But a lot of people are saying that. So let's talk about his legacy a little bit. He's stepping down now. A lot of people said, okay, this is the deal. Biden, you're not really getting a lot of support. The fundraising is going bad. George Clooney put it out there. You're not the same person. He wants to take the money back. You've got senators and some politicians saying we'll support you, but then they're looking at, okay, you're at the top. If you're looking bad, then we're looking bad. So now we're not going to support you. We support that you do what's best for you as far as the country is concerned. And now that he's dropped out, did he drop out because, maybe they said, look, if you don't drop out, you're not going to get a library. You're not going to be proclaimed as one of the greatest presidents ever. We're not going to help with your son. We're not going to take care of you, and you won't have that legacy. So speaking of legacy, let's go back real quick over him. So 2 years. What did he do? Really, he was around for 3 years, but he had that really bad debate with Trump not too long ago. And after that debate, everybody started coming after him. But who's the fault? People knew that he was kind of sickly. Some people called it elder abuse. How many people are blaming Joe Biden? How many people were propping him up just so we could think we had a president? Democrats. We talk about Republicans and how crooked they are. Well, for many years, and even the press secretary said, oh no, he's at the top of his game. He can run around circles around many people, but we saw it with our own eyes. And I think the people who are to blame are, of course, Barack, um, Pelosi, the press secretary, Jill, the press period, anybody that has seen him over the past couple of years. And maybe there was a deal because I know deals are made. My background, I run for politics. I also ran for Congress. So I see the ins and outs of certain things. But who says somebody didn't say, look, if you report back about about Biden, we won't give you access to him. Not surprising, some of that could happen. Was Biden the kind of president that could inspire the country? Maybe he believed it. When he was really upset, people were like, yeah, go Joe, all that energy. But as you look at the past couple of years, is he the same Biden that he was 4 years ago? They even asked Kamala Harris, who debated against him. She said he was. We all know that he wasn't the same. So was he the perfect person for that moment? When he became president, and Senator Kleinberg from South Carolina kind of pushed him, got the black vote. Pretty much could have said behind doors, look, I'll help you out. I'll get you over. But if I get you over and you get the black vote, you have to put somebody black in the White House, somebody VP wise in the White House. We want you to do that. And maybe he did that deal. So you think about this. He was probably the perfect person for the moment, coming out right after Donald Trump. There was never a Joe Biden Democrat yay, like people love Republicans as far as Reagan or even Obama or even Clinton. They just said pretty much that that's Joe. And even John F. Kennedy. So where did Biden have, I guess, his most favorite appeal? Well, because probably he was just, one of the guys. We known him for years. Let's go back. He ran for president many times. 1988 he ran, but he ended in a bad way when they talked about him and plagiarism. So he, looked bad. He ran in 2008. He dropped out after the Iowa caucuses, where he won less than 1% of the vote. We talk about Kamala. But in 2008, he had won only 1% of the vote. And 2016, Obama convinced him not to run, even though he was Obama's running mate. What is that showing you? Okay. He didn't want him to run, Obama. He wanted Hillary to run. So he won the nomination, 2020. But after he won it, you think about this. He had the January 6th insurrection, and he also went through COVID with everybody. So his legacy is what you make of it. You really have to go back and look at it and see what kind of legacy did he do. Some of it won't be known for many decades, kind of like Jimmy Carter. He's kind of the person where he was at the right place at the right time, got lucky, but was able to get the country through everything, through the insurrection, and also through COVID. So when he speaks tonight, it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to say and see what kind of flubs he's going to have. As I'm looking on the clock now. So there's many accomplishments he did do, though. He launched a $1.9 trillion pandemic aid, integrated a bunch of new programs throughout that. It's one thing he'll be remembered for. And he'll be remembered for just trying to do the right thing, trying to get with African Americans, helping them out and everything, having a first African American vice president. He had a couple measures that won't take place and we won't know about till years from now. He had the invasion of Ukraine in early 2020, and inflation went up, went down, it's up again, and Hamas war. And a lot of people are looking at on his watch, he has had a couple of wars take place. So the legacy of Biden, he was a guy that went after a dream, tried to do the best he could. And at the end of the day, he may step down tonight. We're going to find out if he's going to step down. He's got 5 months left. A lot of people are saying Well, you know what? If you're not willing to finish what we started and what you started, and you kept telling people, only thing that'll take you out is God. Is God whispering to you, saying it's time to leave? We're going to find out. You are watching late breaking news. President Joe Biden's press conference, he's going to talk to people. He hasn't talked to people since he wrote that letter saying why he was not going to run for re-election. The legacy of Joe. What is it? Well, you know what? If you're trying to ease the years after Donald Trump and you needed a stopgap, then Joe Biden was the one. But Donald Trump is right trying to come back. So did Joe Biden kind of give us a pause a little bit? Did he give us a pause where we could say, huh, now we're coming back to reality? So we're going to sit back, we're going to relax, and we're going to listen in, and we'll make some comments. But the White House, he's expected to speak in a couple minutes. If you have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly, keeping it honest. Yours truly, Anthony Parker. Email address is parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. Telephone number is 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. Some people think it's a conspiracy theory. Some people say, okay, all the people that are giving Joe Biden those accolades now were probably some of the same ones that wanted him to step down. Do you think? And after that letter that I just showed you, he put out another one saying, oh yeah, I endorse Kamala Harris to run for president. But you would think he'd have put all that in the same letter. How could you forget? The only person as of this airing that has not endorsed Kamala is, you know him, you love him, you just can't get enough of him, Barack Obama. Some people have said that Barack, he said he would only take a third term. I'm paraphrasing. If he didn't have to be at the White House, he could be at his house and he could kind of do the things from his house. So this term, this Biden term, some people have said that it was the Obama term, that it was his third term, that he was speaking in his head. And it's interesting because there's a guy by the name of David Axelrod, who was a close friend of Obama. And every time Axelrod talked, you figured he had talked to Obama. Not too long ago, Axelrod said Biden should step down. So was that really Obama speaking in his ear, saying that? Obama has not endorsed Kamala. He says he wants an open convention. So I look at this a couple ways. I don't know how long it is before they're going to speak, but I'll continue. You look at this as football team. And there's the seal. So he might be coming up. Keep it on, it's yours truly, Anthony Parker. And it is almost time for President Biden to address the American public and tell us why he decided not to run for re-election. And if he's going to continue this term. Here he is. And it looks like a recording.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union It's not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this, we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elect me to this office, I promise to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence. Our planet from climate crisis is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, secure, and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. We came together as Americans. We got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today, we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors. More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. Today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first Black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. You just have to keep faith, keep the faith. And remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
All righty, so there we go. That's the address of Joe Biden, President Biden. Sorry about that. He addressed the nation and let everybody know that he wasn't running for reelection. It was about a 12-minute talk. So, what are your first opinions? Well, mine, and I'm keeping it honest, it was sad. If you look at Joe Biden just then, you think about him 4 years ago, totally different. Kind of like an athlete where they have dwindling athletic abilities. Well, with Joe, you saw him shaking a little bit. Looked like it was pre-recorded because it started off like this, and then it went on. And he really didn't say why he's not running, is one thing. In the letter, it gave a little bit more information that he was not running so he could work on the country. But when he gave that address and he made some flubs, slurred little words, and it made you think, really, in reality, is that a guy that I could count on for 4 more straight years? Maybe 1 year, I don't know. So for even him to say, I'm going to continue to run, you think he would have won against Donald Trump? And then as I threw out things, as I'm looking at the video about President Biden. So what if Donald Trump wasn't the Republican nominee? What if it was DeSantis, or what if it was Nikki Haley? Then would this country, as he says, be going down a bad road? Why would he think he's the only one to finish this job, to do this job? And then you drop out. You want to bring in the new generation, Kamala, that sounds like Donald Trump. She's late 50s, looks very good, very vibrant. Is she the one to lead the country? Do the Democrats want her to be that next president? Because I said before, you're going to see throughout this nomination some attacks on Miss Harris. The laughing, maybe the confusion, maybe the uncertainty. Some people say when she went from a DA to become vice president, she lost all that toughness. Maybe she wasn't sure of herself. As I've seen her now in the past couple of days, since she knows that Biden has endorsed her, she seems a little bit sure of herself. What's going to be interesting is when her and Donald Trump debate, and they're already doing their attacks already. Who's going to have the better facts? You've got Donald Trump, who was president now, debating Miss Harris, who was vice president under Joe Biden's watch. Some of the things that Joe Biden mentioned, he gave a lot of facts and figures. It almost was like it was an election promo. But the legacy, and we don't have time to go through everything that he said. The one good thing he didn't talk about was Project 2025, as far as people being scared on that. I tell you too, with that, read up on that. Okay. Don't just listen to what the Democrats say. Don't just listen to what the Republicans say. Project 2025. Read up on that. That will make you think, okay, well, do I really want to vote for this person? Do I really want to vote for that person? So now, are you sad that Biden, and news breaking, he's going to finish out his term? He says 6 months. He's going to finish out his term, but grain of salt. Didn't he say he wasn't dropping out the race too? So would it surprise you a couple weeks from now? He says, I'm not going to finish out my term. I thought about it. Would it surprise you? This is history where a president is saying, I'm not seeking reelection. But then he does it on a tweet. And when you saw him just then, he had just gotten over COVID, I guess. But can you really see him now in these last 6 months sitting there across the table from Putin, sitting there across the table from any Russian or China dictator and trying to show how strong America is? Can you really see him doing that? I think the one that really doesn't want to give up the power is Joe Biden. So he's got 6 months left. Is he a lame duck president? All the things he mentioned he wanted to do. He's going to do this in 6 months. Some people have said, okay, Joe, why don't you step down now? Let Kamala be the president. That way she can kind of finish up some things, pass the torch on to her now. So it'll give her a better chance to win. Speaking of winning, with the endorsement now, how does that work? And you're watching, keeping it honest. Yours truly, Anthony Parker, and we just had President Joe Biden address the country and the world, and he let us know why he's dropping out. But yet he didn't really let us know. He just said, I'm dropping out. Could he have taken reporters? That would have been great to get inside his head to say, hey, you know what? Why are you really dropping out? Because we really don't know. Is it a health issue? If it is a health issue, then why aren't you dropping out now? Okay. How will he be remembered? Will he be remembered as a guy that all of his life he always wanted to become president of the United States? And he ran a couple of times when people didn't want him to run, when he was caught for plagiarizing, when Obama didn't want him to run, and he was with Obama for 8 years. But he ran. And did he win because there was nobody else? Senator Claiborne, I always say this, from South Carolina, was the one that pushed him. He got 90% of the African American vote. How much of the vote would he get now? It may be that people may not like him, but people see he has no power. So now, as he's giving it to Harris to run, now she has to see, okay, am I going to get the votes? And the interesting thing is, she can pick anybody to be vice president. Doesn't really have to go to the vote of the people. She can just pick. Because you think about this, when people pick vice presidents, they just kind of pick them. Donald Trump, he didn't have to, vote and get people to vote. He probably went with his people and said, okay, this is who I like. So she can do the same thing, Ms. Harris. Some people say Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, a couple other people. I couldn't see two women running for president and vice president of the country. I couldn't see her picking an African American man. I couldn't see her picking an African American woman, because that would be two Black people on the ticket. And I don't think America's ready for that. I've said before, I think she will pick she won't pick a young guy. I don't think too. Maybe she'll pick kind of like a Biden. Like Obama picked Biden because he was known to be a statesman. He had been around for years, knew all the comings and goings of Congress. I think she's more favorable if she picks somebody like that. Somebody who's been around for years, not old, but maybe in their 60s, and knows everybody. That can deal with Republicans, deal with Democrats, can also talk in your ear. I think she'd have a better chance that way. But my thing was, as before he started talking, a lot of people are upset because some people don't want Miss Harris to be the anointed one. I look at it this way. You have a football team. Let's pick the Cleveland Browns. You have a great quarterback. And then you have a backup that's so-so. Okay? So that great quarterback gets injured. And you only have a so-so quarterback as his backup. Instead of going to the backup, which would be Harris, do you say out of left field, I want to pick another great quarterback from another team? but you got a backup right here. And Miss Harris is technically the backup, the VP, but people really don't want her. They want to go to another team and get somebody else to run. So who would be upset if people got together and said, we don't want Miss Harris to run? Well, if they got somebody to run for president and kicked Miss Harris out the way, maybe gave her a deal, said, look, we'll make you the DA over the country, something like that. A great position, something that she's done, but it's even higher up. We'll give you that position, you step down. We have our two candidates running against Donald Trump. Well, African Americans will probably not vote because then you're pushing the black vote away. Men won't vote. And then more people would probably go independent because they see how there are backdoor deals being made. And who says, like I said, that Joe Biden's wasn't a backdoor deal? We're telling you now, Joe, you keep saying you're not going. We're not going to win. We've looked at the numbers. You're losing. You're losing the black vote, the Hispanic vote, the minority vote. A lot of them now are going to Donald Trump. You're losing. A lot of these states where you were winning, barely winning, Trump is winning. Why would we as donors put our money into you and you technically have no way to win? You need to step down. Do it for your country. And then when people say, oh, wow, we're proud of Biden that he really stepped down for his country, he was pushed to step down. He still didn't give a reason why he stepped down. Was it his health? What's the reason? There's going to be conspiracy theories on that. And you look at this as far as voters. Why didn't he step down for running in the next re-election? Why didn't he do that? Why did he even say he was going to run? That way there would have been a lot of people that would have ran. But, you know, you had R.F. Kennedy Jr., Marion Wilson, and I forgot the other guy's name. Shows you the importance of who they were. My thought was, well, why didn't these people that ran in 2020, all the people that ran, Cory Booker, all the other people that ran, it was a bunch of them, why didn't they decide to run for 2024? Why did they have like this weak number of people that were running for president? And then on some states, okay, you're talking about it being fixed. R.F. Kennedy also said there was conspiracy because he couldn't even get in some of the states to run against Biden. So technically it was Biden up here and everybody else down there, two other people, Wilson and RFK Jr. But then RFK Jr. decided to be independent. So who was there really to run? And why weren't there people there to run? I've always said sometimes the establishment in anything you do, they will put you in places they want you to be, whether it's good, whether it's bad. Some people have said Obama was that golden boy who was destined to be president because the powers that be had pushed him. 8 years he was in office, African American community, especially now, they don't have that same love that they did then. His legacy is kind of shady in a way. I'm keeping it real, keeping it honest. And it's interesting because with Biden's, I think he's going to be more of a Carter. They didn't really like Carter when he was in office. He was nice, he was good, whatever. Decades later, he got out of office and he became an elder statesman. Biden's already a little bit older, but in the years that he's going to be around, he will probably be looked at as you did a good job and you're in the right place at the right time. We appreciate you. We appreciate your legacy. Keeping it honest. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander. You want to text me? Leave me a message. Telephone number 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. And you can email yours truly. It's parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. So we're going to talk about this real quick. What happens next? So vice president. She's going to be running for president. And we want to know, what are the next steps? Is she really going to be on the ballot? But there are so many different things that could happen. So the Democrats, they're going to be holding their convention in Chicago. We saw the Republican convention. So now it's the Democrats' turn. And they're holding it from August 19th to the 22nd. And what was supposed to be at the end of the week, a coronation for Joe Biden, he won't be there. Who's it going to be a coordination for? Well, the coordination is going to be for is Kamala Harris. Maybe. So there's 4,700 delegates, and they'll be responsible for picking the new person, since it's not going to be Joe Biden. And I'm going to tell you too about my Patreon page. So my Patreon page is, you go on there, and I would almost show you what it looks like. But you go on there and you contribute to my show. It's like a fundraiser. You contribute to my show. And it's being live, anything can happen. So thank you very much. So we have the convention. And at that convention, delegates are there. And these delegates, they were supposed to be there for Biden. So Biden decided to drop out. So Biden now said, hey, you know what? I want you to support Ms. Harris, my vice president. He also has that money that contribute to the Biden-Harris campaign. And if he doesn't endorse her, where does that money go? So when he ran, okay, as I said, fixed election, in some ways I sound like Donald Trump. He won every state primary caucus early this year, and he only lost one. That was in the territory of America, Somalia. So at least almost 4,000 delegates have been pledged to support him. So at this convention, now of him stepping aside, his endorsement makes all the delegates think. So they have 700 super delegates, and these include party leaders. These are the ones that are really strong. And they're like, okay, Biden, well, you want us to support her, but we need to decide if we really want to support her. First, you got to see if there's anybody who wants to challenge her. At first, there were a couple of people that were thinking about it. Now they've all seemed to like say, okay, well, you know what? We're going to support her and hopefully we can beat Trump. And we don't want to push her aside, because if we push her aside, the Black population, African Americans, will be ticked off and they won't ever want to vote Democrat. They may want to go Republican, may want to go independent. So we have to keep the Black population, minority population. So the campaign money with Biden saying, okay, I want Ms. Harris. That money stays $91 million on hand. If he didn't support her, wow. Then that money, including $240 million, it will like disappear. So they're looking at, okay, we get all this money. If we get a new person, then we got to find some more money. But if we keep Ms. Harris, we've got money. We've got advertising money. We've got money for fundraising and everything else. So we keep her. But the interesting thing is, if the Republicans say, you know what, let's just sit back and see what happens, state by state. Because you think of this, if it's going to be Harris and a vice presidential candidate, you got to put out new ballots. Because the old ones right now, they say Joe Biden, president and Kamala, vice president. But now that he dropped out, you've got to do new ballots. And everything state by state. They have a limitation on when you can have ballots put together. Some may have already passed. So you think about that. If you're in a section or a state where you can't redo those ballots, then how can Miss Harris run with her vice president candidate state? What are you going to do there? So now they've got a short amount of time to go across the country to make sure each state can change these ballots and get her name and her presidential vice president candidate on that ballot so they can run against Trump. So it is going to be very crazy in the next couple of months. But rest assured, I'm curious, how many people think that Joe Biden may drop out with 6 months left to say for the good of the country? Because if they start panicking, all of his people around him, who are around him, if they start panicking and say, look, Joe, you did great, could have did better, but we may need you to step out now because we need Miss Harris to really show her power. Because 6 months is a long time. And if you don't think America's looking, don't think other countries are looking across the world. Lame duck president, you know what, let's do all this, let's do wars, let's do everything, let's fight the United States because he's going to be gone in 6 months. And we totally don't know who's going to win. Let's take advantage of this because when people are down, people are going to continue to do you wrong. Speaking of wrong, do you think people did Joe Biden wrong? Did he do this and leave for the best of the country? Should he have left a long time ago? Should he have even ran for president for the next term? What is his legacy? Where's America going? What is Donald Trump thinking? If Donald Trump becomes president, are we going to be back to what we were before Joe Biden got in? Because Joe Biden said, I need to finish the job. And what did he do? He quit. In the long run, who's going to hurt? You feel sorry for Joe because he didn't get a chance to finish his job the way that he wanted it. How is America hurting? Is America better now than we were a couple of years ago? What is the state of America? Can we trust the media? Can we trust the politicians? Or you can trust us. Because like I said, we put things in a Parker twist. And today, it was President Biden addressing the nation about why he's not running for re-election. Did a live show. And live shows are kind of quirky. So bear with us. We thank you for supporting us. Tell your friends. Continue to hit the like and subscribe button and share button. And thank you for talking to us on the threads. When we do talk, we really appreciate it. I'm telling you. What is going to happen now to our country? Next couple months, it's going to be a crazy ride. Stay tuned for upcoming shows. Stay tuned for our shorts. Our shorts could be as long as 5 seconds, short as 5 seconds. We could have our 2-hour long shows. We could be doing it by ourselves. We could have guests. We just like shaking up and doing it with a Parker twist. So I understand now why in churches they say pray for the politicians. We have got a couple of crazy days ahead of us. In closing, keep your head up, never look down, always believe yourself, and therein will lie your answer. We don't just keep it real. We don't just keep it honest. We keep it simple. I'm Anthony Parker. God bless you, and God bless America.